What's up everyone, Soldier First Class here, and today's mission, we're going to be talking about Yuffie Kisaragi in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Everyone's favorite materia thief is likely to be in part 2, but how will they introduce her into the story? We're going to dive into this theory today with some interesting ideas on how it could work. Keep in mind there will be spoilers for Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake in this video. So to begin, did you know that Kyrie and Yuffie are actually the same person? I made a video a long time ago about how Yuffie and Vincent will likely be part of the main story this time instead of optional. My reasoning was that these are high definition character models and the money they cost to make will likely cause them to be written in as mandatory. After Final Fantasy VII launched in 1997, Yuffie has become a fan favorite and has been featured in Crisis Core, Advent Children, and Dirge of Cerberus since then. Even though she was optional in the original, I get the feeling that we won't have any optional characters in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. So how do they write her into the story organically while staying true to her character? I think this theory actually answers a few questions the fanbase has when it comes to characters being introduced and the multi-part structure. If you're unfamiliar with the new threat mod, it mods the original Final Fantasy VII, giving it all new scenarios, rearranged events, and different boss fights. One of these rearranged events involves Yuffie, and you guessed it, stealing from the party. After the calm flashback, the party is asleep in the inn, and Yuffie pops out of the cabinet in the corner of the room. She walks around to everyone, steals from them, and then is caught by Red 13. She runs away, only for the party to encounter her outside of Calm. The interaction is mandatory, and the scene plays out to where you get her into your party. I think it's possible that Final Fantasy VII Remake does something similar, or even takes that page out of New Threat's book. This writes her into the story naturally, stays true to her character, and also solves a problem that part of the fanbase has with the multi-part structure, and that's data transfer. We're not even sure if data transfer will be a feature, considering these games have been called standalone games in a series. If Yuffie is utilized in this way, she could steal all of our materia that we would have had in Part 1 and hand it off to a Wutai recon unit before we have a chance to catch her. This eliminates the aspect of data transfer, while also having a story-based reason for not having it. If anything, they could have her steal our materia, and then we get that materia back later in the game. This could be after we've progressed far enough to not be overpowered with max materia. For the purpose of continuity, they could make the materia you get back be at max level, so you can still feel the rewards of the first game. This would also cause her to get Leviathan from the party, which is the deity of Wutai. Even though Chadley created the materia, Yuffie would still be emotionally attached to the summon due to it being the symbol of her home and her people. They could also have level caps for each part, so level 50 is what you end part 1 at, and then part 2 could go to level 100, and then part 3 could go to level 150. Now obviously we don't know how many parts there will be, but 3 seems the most likely, and given that model, these level caps make sense. Final Fantasy hasn't always done level caps at 99 or 100, as Final Fantasy XV implemented a level cap of 120. This is purely speculation, but it does fit the model of the remake so far. I think this would also help with balancing issues when it came to the combat. If you start with everything you had in part 1, you'd be starting part 2 with super high level magic, and I think combat balancing would tend to suffer. If Yuffie steals all of that materia, then you'd have to build that back up, and enemies wouldn't be a breeze to fight. This helps keep combat fresh and from feeling like you're just going through the motions. It would also be a great way to introduce new materia types and make that new materia viable for the challenges ahead. Why would you want to get new materia if you already have powerful max level spells? You'd just stick to what you have for the most part, and it would discourage you from changing things up for fear of becoming weaker. With a larger presence in Final Fantasy VII Remake, Wutai and Avalanche are bound to have expanded roles in the series going forward, and everyone's favorite ninja will be heavily involved in that. Yuffie hates Shinra for what it did to Wutai in the original, and her main goal was to get materia to help return Wutai to its former glory. With Shinra blaming Wutai for the reactors blowing up and claiming that Avalanche is working for them, tensions around the world are sure to be high. We even heard this in the streets of Midgar as people within the city became afraid and paranoid about Wutai and the end of the ceasefire. In Chapter 4, Biggs also claims that he heard Wutai and Avalanche cut a deal for all of Midgar's materia, but he wasn't sure if it was true or not. If they truly want to make Yuffie a more present character than she was in the original, then they'll look to do something with the Wutai storyline. Wutai has so much potential, especially now that there are bigger forces at work, and I honestly can't wait to see what they do with it. And on the plus side, it seems we're going to be getting more depth with Avalanche, and Wutai may be where we get that. Avalanche's origins are tied to Wutai, as after forming in Cosmo Canyon, the group moved their headquarters to there. This deep-rooted connection will surely play a factor in the battles to come, and right in the center of it will be Yuffie Kisaragi. I think this is a good place for Charlie Sheen, wrong script. I mean Biggs to show back up. With Biggs confirmed alive at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, they're definitely going to use him later in the story. It's possible that after he recovers from his injuries, he sets out to return to Avalanche Command, where we could meet up with him again. If this is the case, then we could see a reunion with Barret and a full introduction with Avalanche Control inside of Wutai. Overall, there are definitely ways to introduce Yuffie in a natural way, take care of the problem of data transfer, and move along the Wutai avalanche narrative. If done right, Yuffie could definitely have an epic introduction, and I'm excited to see how that all plays out. I'm especially excited for Vincent, and I can't wait to see how creepy his coffin room is in the remake. So what do you think, soldiers? How would you introduce Yuffie in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2? Thanks for watching, and don't forget to omnislash that like button. Let me know in the comments section below how you would introduce Yuffie in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. Subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell to join the ranks of Soldier today. And for all the latest Final Fantasy VII Remake news, rumors, and trailers, I'm Soldier First Class, and I'm on to the next mission. Later, guys.